So Korey Johnson is a man who found out in his life that sometimes it don't go the way you want it to go. It's always God's plan. Now he may have always known this, but having it applied to you in your own personal life is a whole different thing. And Corey's here to tell us, man, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Okay, very good, very good. Now your son Corey, is it Korey Jr.?
Yeah, Corey. No, it's not a junior actually. It's Corey Quarter.
Okay.
Corey,
Well, your son Corey has taught you a lot. How old is Corey?
Corey is 6. He just turned 6 this month.
6 years old. Now, Corey is autistic.
Yeah, they call it ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder.
Okay. Now, a lot of us don't understand what that is. The only thing we know is something's wrong.
Yeah.
And for a lot of men who have a son, their only son, who's diagnosed as autistic, it can be devastating. And for you, it was at the beginning.
Yeah, very much so it was. It's one of those things where you know something's wrong, but you don't know, you don't want to accept it. You want him to be just as normal as any other kid. And that's something that's very, very difficult to kind of deal with at that time.
So how many years was it before he was diagnosed, from the time he was born until diagnosed time, until he was diagnosed? How long was that?
He was about 3 when I actually asked the doctor what was going on. You know, why isn't my son talking like a normal 3-year-old, or why isn't he doing the things that normal 3-year-olds would be doing? And it was that day when I asked her that she was kind of concerned herself because she had just seen him in May, and this was in October, and he wasn't communicating the way she felt as if he said that he should have been. And when I took him in October, it was, that day was a day I'll never forget, because she told me then that it's possibly that he may have some type of developmental delay. And of course, it starts with developmental delay, and then they have this test called the Dial 9 test, which a lot of school districts have, and some of them have, they've actually changed it a little bit, but it's still the same type of testing to see where he is and where he needs to be. And that test was offered in Ferguson, Florida, which is a different type of test, but they test him, and they diagnosed him then as having a developmental delay at first. And then he started going to a preschool in Ferguson, Florida. And after those 3 months, I believe, they finally they told me that they didn't have enough data on him to actually diagnose him at that point. So, school starts in August. So in August, he went from August to October. And after that, they had enough data to actually diagnose him, and they diagnosed him as having autism.
So when it's first confirmed as a father, are you angry? Do you want to blame somebody? Are you devastated? I mean, what went through your mind?
I think it wasn't that I wanted to blame someone. I think it was more so like it was devastating. I mean, it was something that you have to go through to understand what it's like to have your only child. Your vision of having a son, you think of you guys are going to be hanging out, going fishing, baseball, whatever it is that you like to do, you're going to show your son. You want
Sure.
to, absorb whatever it is that you want to teach him. And at that point, it felt like I wasn't going to have that. It was going to be different. It was going to be, maybe he never would enjoy some of the things that I feel like they're enjoyable, or that I feel like he should. It was a very difficult day. It was a long drive.
Yeah. Well, so how long did it take before you started saying to yourself, you know what, I gotta be better than this. I gotta be better than my feelings. I gotta be patient. I gotta stay prayerful. I gotta know that I can make a difference still in this child's life. How long did it take you to get to that point?
It took me probably, I would say maybe about a month.
Mm-hmm.
About a month, man, because the more and more I kept thinking about it, the more and more I started researching stuff, the more and more I started wanting to know what I can do to help him. And as I really didn't talk about it at first. I really just kind of internalized it and just kept it to myself. Although people that knew my son knew something was not quite right,
Mm-hmm.
and I never did confirm it at that time. And as I kept going on and I kept talking about it, and I would share certain things with certain people, and as I would share it, it felt like a load was lifted off of me because I actually felt as if I could talk to them and just confide in them. And once I started doing that, one day I just woke up and said, "Man, I can't do this no more. I got to talk about it because I'm sure there's somebody out here that is actually going through the same thing I'm going through or worse that can learn from this and learn just be strong and just persevere, man. Just keep going, just keep trying and talk about it. And that's how I pretty much got to it.
So,
you right now.
So, like, in a sense, then talking to people about this was kind of therapy for you.
Yeah, it really was, man. It was, and even right now, I feel even I'm good about talking about it right now. But 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't be able to make it through this interview.
Now, I don't know how old you are, but let's say if you were, say, 10 years younger, do you think you would be at a point in your life where you would handle this the same way, or would you have just been like, "Oh, hell no"?
I wouldn't say all the way, oh hell no, but I would say probably I wouldn't deal with it as maturely as I'm dealing with it right now. I probably would have kept it to myself instead.
So what would you say? Because it's got to be a little, your only son has been diagnosed as autistic. So for other men, what would you say to them who are fighting through this, who don't know what to do? They're just mad.
Yeah, and you go through a phase of that, man. You go through a phase of anger, and some people don't know how to let that anger go. I recommend talk about it. That's the way I dealt with it. If you have to get counseling, talk to somebody about it. If you have elders in your family, talk to them. I'm sure that someone in your family has dealt with certain issues kind of similar, or they know somebody who has, and they can just be there for you. Just listen. Because a lot of times that's all you want. You just want somebody to hear your raw feelings and just someone you can totally express how you feel, get it all out, and after that you feel better. And then it's constant building from that point on. You have to just keep building from then on and keep going.
Korey Johnson is talking about his son. Now let's talk about little Kory, because there's a point from the diagnosis moving forward where he's actually touched you in a way that you probably never expected. Tell us about that.
Oh man, he's on it seems like ever since when I started talking about it and going to school and talking to the teachers and doing stuff like that, man, Kory has really excelled in school. I mean, he's talking more. He's pronouncing words. He's spelling like crazy. I mean, this is his thing. He likes to spell, and he loves numbers. And he still has issues, as far as talking a little bit. He can't really have a total conversation, but you can understand him. Mm-hmm. He can tell you what he wants and what he doesn't want anymore now. Versus then, he really wouldn't say too much. And it's just touched me to where it's now I feel I have hope. I feel like I have hope that one day things will turn around. Things are turning around now at such a rapid pace where it's kind of like, you know how they say, you ask for something, be careful what you ask for.
Right.
This might get it. And in this case, this is pretty much what it is. I'm getting it, and I'm getting kind of nervous because I brace myself for the worst, but I'm getting the best things ever. Really.
Right. Now, your father, so do you have to discipline him?
Actually, I don't, man. I don't have to do all that. I can give Kory a look or say, go over there and sit down firmly, and I don't have those issues with him.
Do you find yourself that you spoil him?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I mean, I pretty much, because he doesn't ask for much. So when he does ask me for something, or he may imply that he wants something, I see that as improvement from where he was. So of course I reward him with it. But as far as like bad behavior or anything like that, Kory's just a happy kid. I mean, he likes to scream and yell, don't get me wrong. Sometimes he get on your nerves, but I'd rather hear that than him doing, you know, bad things, you know, quote unquote, just very, you know, whereas I have to discipline him. And I don't. I really don't.
So does Corey have a sibling who you've had to explain what the situation is to?
Oh yeah, his sister, Nadia, she's 10.
Okay.
And she's remarkable, man. She's always there for him. You know, she always, you know, he asks her for help. You know, he asks for help. She'll go right over there and help him and try to show him. And yeah, it's difficult trying to get her to understand what it is that actually Corey suffers from. But I think that she's a loving kid herself, and I don't even have to discipline her at all. And she's just loving. That's just part of her. Corey's been blessed with a great family overall on both sides. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whereas that people want to be around him and want to be a part of his life. And yeah, this may be a minor setback, but I think futuristic, he's going to have such a solid foundation to where he's going to excel in whatever it is he chooses to do.
So what was the most difficult conversation? Who was it with that you had to explain what Corey's situation was? Was it with his mother? Was it with your mother? Was it with his sister? Who was it? Who was the toughest conversation to have?
I would say my grandmother probably.
Your grandmother.
Yeah.
Why so?
Well, I guess it was at that point of where my feelings were still kind of raw, and I wanted to get it all out. And that's who pretty much I talked to about it raw, just told her how I felt just completely. You know, I told her a lot of my emotions and stuff like that, and I found it difficult because, you know, I was in my mind, I was in a weird space, you know, and I felt comfortable talking to her about it. But at the same time, like, it was kind of difficult too because I was exposing myself out there, you know. But after that, I kind of felt, you know, after me and her had that conversation, I felt more powerful to keep talking about it and
Mm-hmm.
you know, talking to my mom about it, talking to Eric about it, talking to everybody else about it. But I'm glad that she was there just to listen at that point in time when I needed her.
Now, your grandmother, of course, she's old school. She's two generations ahead of you. Did she understand?
Yeah, she understood. You know, she actually understood a lot more than what you. My grandmother is sharp, man. She's a sharp old woman. She sat back, she thought about it. She was like, yeah, I know, you know, back in my days, they didn't necessarily call it that. They just
Right.
thought, you know, he had a problem, but they didn't necessarily label. They didn't have the label back.
Well, like when I was, you know, a much younger, people who were autistic, they were the term used was they have a problem.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
it was that was always the term used because it was passed down from generation to generation, and it wasn't until at some point somebody, you know, came up with a phrase to describe what the condition was, that we kind of left that, you know, that he's got a problem thing alone and went with autism. So
Exactly.
now you wrote a paper about this. You wrote an essay about this.
Yeah.
That I had the privilege of reading, which when I got done reading it, I just wanted to talk to you about it right away. And how therapeutic was it actually writing this essay? It's a brilliant essay, by the way.
Thanks, man. I actually, I wrote that, man. Actually, I had been thinking about it in my mind, and this guy, he's a Facebook friend of mine, and he starts noticing I start putting stuff up about autism. And he, you know, he inboxed me and he asked me a question about, you know, who in your family is affected. I started seeing that, you know, you start posting and stuff, who is affected, if you don't mind me asking. And I told him about my son, and he was like, well, would you like to write about it? I had already been thinking about it, but it's kind of, you know, it's one of those things kind of like pushed me on to do it. So from that night on, I just started writing. I just got on the computer. I stayed up till about 2 o'clock in the morning just writing it, you know, and writing the whole thing. I got to a certain point and stopped. Then I added a little bit more. I stopped. I say within a week I wrote it. And after that, I just had, you know, of course, I had someone edit it and went from there. And I wanted to put it out there for people who were going through the same thing I was going through, but just didn't know what to do, especially men. And all men of all colors, not just black men of all races, men of all colors, because we tend to have this macho image of that we got to be hard all the time. And really, you're really brittle. I mean, really, your feelings and emotions really can be hurt, especially when it comes to the kids. And you really can be destroyed.
Let's peel back a layer of that for a second, man, and tell me, how has this episode of your life, how has it challenged your manhood? How has it changed the way you look at being a man?
It let me know that it's okay to express yourself. You know, it's okay to talk about them. A lot of times, we as men think that certain things are feminine, like we shouldn't talk about our emotions, or that when it comes to your kids or whatever, we have to have this strong image, and that's not true. That's just totally not true. That doesn't make you strong. It'll make you have high blood pressure or a stroke or something like that, because you taking on too much. You have to express yourself. You have to talk about these things. You have to, I guess, I ain't gonna say have feminine ways. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to be able to communicate these things effectively and get it out of you, basically.
Well, that's the line right there. That's the line that a lot of men see expressing their feelings and emotions as being feminine. Mm-hmm. That's the mistake. When in reality, Corey, I personally think, and I think you would agree, that expressing yourself and your emotions and your feelings actually makes you more of a man.
I agree. I totally agree.
And I personally, I live most of my life thinking the other way.
Yeah, me too.
And it wasn't until, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago that I started to realize that ain't the way to be. That's not the way to be. I got to ask you this though, Corey, how big a role did your faith play in this?
Oh man, I actually.
Were you mad at God?
No. God makes no mistakes. People do, and I believe He placed them in my heart, in my life, because He knew I would take care of him, and I would make sure that he gets the things that he needs, and all the help, the support, everything I possibly can do on my end, and everything that I can do for him. So I don't regret that at all. I'm not mad at God. I never said anything bad about him. That's the man. You know, to me, he number one in my life, and will always be. Because without him, man, again, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Right. Now, let's look to the future. What is your hope for Corey when he becomes an adult, when he becomes a teenager and then an adult? In your heart, what would you like to see happen for Corey?
I would like Corey to have what we would call a quote unquote normal, what we consider a normal life. I would want him to live just as normal as possible. You know, I would want him to be functional. You know, be able to take care of himself, be able to have a relationship if possible. You know, get married if possible. You know, I would want the things that any parent would want for their child. You know, I would want him to be happy. That's it. In anything he chooses to do, I just want him to be happy, and I want to be there to see him happy and make sure he has things that he needs. That's all.
And that's really all. As parents, that's all you can want for your child.
Exactly.
Man, I think that you're for lack of a better phrase, I think you're a brave man, and I think you're a great role model for men who may be going through the situation, and hopefully will see this video and understand that it's not the end of the world, and it's not as devastating as you think it is. And you can come out of this as a proud father and a loving father to your son or daughter, who, God forbid, you find out is autistic, and you just I know at the beginning, and I think at the beginning, like that month where you were like, I think you're allowed that.
Yeah, of course. Everybody should be allowed a little time in itself, man. Because if you just internalize and don't ever speak of it, you're only hurting yourself. You're only setting yourself up for failure.
So let me ask you real quick before I let you go. The essay, is it available online anywhere for people to read? Can they inbox you on Facebook and you can email it to them, or how?
Sure, Tony, if you would like to put it up, that's fine. I totally want anybody who wants it, they can actually inbox me, they can actually email me. I don't care. I want this out here because I want to help other people genuinely. That's the main thing. The main purpose of this actual essay was to help other people. And I'm very sure this is going to help someone. I don't care who you are. I just want you to please do not ignore it. Do not hold it in. Do not blame nobody. Speak of it, and it will happen for you. Just believe, have that faith in God, and it will happen. Everything will that you ask for and pray for will happen for you. Trust me, it will.
That is Korey Johnson. Corey, thank you so much for sharing your story, man. I appreciate it, man. God bless you and your family. And, here's the good times.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate this, Tony. I really do, man. Thank you.